Hey folks, so Meta dropped a new model called Muse Spark yesterday, and this is a massive model. And a key takeaway that I haven't seen a lot of people talk about is that through its training process, we saw predictable scaling across pre-training, reinforcement learning, and test-time reasoning. This is huge. Now, just for a quick recap, what each of these phases represents, let's just take a quick look at this. So pre-training is learning from lots of data. Think of it like reading the internet before a test. The model learns patterns in language by seeing tons of text like books, websites, etc. And it doesn't understand the text deeply yet. It just learns from what usually comes next. So it is essentially predicting the next word. For example, if it sees the sky is followed, what will follow? It learns that blue is the likely next word, and that's what it does. Then we have the reinforcement learning phase. This is like learning from feedback. Humans or automated systems tell the model this answer is good, so you should give more answers like this, or this answer is bad, you shouldn't give more answers like these. So the model adjusts to give more helpful, safe and corrected answers. For example, if it gives a rude or a wrong answer, it gets corrected and it improves to give more such answers. Then lastly, we have test time reasoning, or what we call as thinking while answering. So this is what happens when you ask a question. The model uses what it learned to think step by step before answering. For a math problem, it might internally break it into steps instead of guessing. So ChatGPT, etc. all have these thinking mode. If you enable this, the model just takes more time to process your query, and it reasons internally. You might have seen all those chains of thought, etc., and it is believed that the thinking models give the best possible answer for each query. Now, what we have, let's just go back to the pre-training phase. Now, what we thought was happening is that we saw headlines like these, that Elon Musk says that all human data for AI training has been exhausted. Now, what we are doing during the pre-training phase, as we saw, is that we are just giving the model more and more data from the textbooks or websites. But there is just a finite number of data that we have collectively produced as humans. What happens after that? And this is what Musk is saying. Elon Musk says that all human produced data for AI training has been exhausted. So this is essentially the pre-training phase. And what we have seen is that over time, we have just grown models larger and larger by feeding them more human produced data over time. And this is what it says here. Back in 2017, GPT-1 was trained with 117 million parameters. And parameters here is just essentially the amount of data which we fed to the model during the pre-training phase. In November of 2019, GPT-2 was released with 1.8 billion parameters, an order of magnitude larger than its predecessor. 1 year later, OpenAI has already finished training of GPT-3, again an order of magnitude jump in size of almost 100x. This model had a parameter of 175 billion. And then in their newest model at the time of this post was GPT-4, which had 1.7 or 1.8 trillion parameters. So that is what we are seeing, that we are just feeding these large language models more and more and more data. And as we have seen that the more data these models are fed, the more intelligent they have become. So the question was that, well, what happens after we hit the ceiling? Have we really hit the ceiling? Are models not going to get better in the pre-training phase? And this is exactly where this statement contradicts, that yes, we are still seeing models get more powerful during the pre-training phase. And let's just go back to this statement, and it says that the tech boss suggests move to self-learning synthetic data, though some warn this could cause a model collapse. Now, what do we mean by that model collapse? So let's take a look at the highlighted text here. So in a 2024 study published in Nature, researchers showed that when models are repeatedly trained on synthetic data generated by other models, they gradually lose diversity and accuracy, drifting further from the true distribution of real-world data until they can no longer produce reliably useful outputs. So it was believed that training models on synthetic data might actually be a bad thing. And so that's why we were saying that since we have exhausted all the available human data, well, it's probably likely the end of the pre-training phase as we know it. But what Alexander Wang. This guy is the head of the Meta Super Intelligence Division, so the chief AI officer at Meta. This guy is saying that, well, that the pre-training phase is still quite scalable. And of course, so it seems that pre-training is still not there yet. We haven't still completely exhausted that phase. Yes, we have definitely developed more techniques using which we can sort of more accurately label what data should go in the pre-training phase to make smaller models much more powerful, and that has really helped us. But still, take a look at this tweet from Elon Musk again. He says that SpaceX AI, and for those of you who don't know, SpaceX and XAI have merged, and they have now got 7 models in training. Imagine V2, this is their model which generates images and videos. They have that in training. 2 variants of trillion parameter models, 2 variants of 1.5 trillion models, a 6 trillion model, and a 10 trillion model. So that's what is happening. And the kicker is that, just curious about how long does it take training run for a 10 trillion model? It takes 2 months. It takes 2 months. And the GPUs here are running day in and day out to just produce this model. So that's what is happening. And of course, these companies are not foolish. Of course, they know what they are doing. And you can just imagine that the pre-training phase, I thought, well, that it's really the end of it. But no, it isn't. These companies are still saying that this model is scalable, and apparently feeding them synthetic data, which we thought might lead to model collapse, is still working. So that's the takeaway I have for you guys, that yes, the pre-training era is still alive and kicking. So yeah, that's all what I wanted to share with you guys in this video. If you found this very helpful, make sure you give it a thumbs up. Follow for more videos. I have more videos where I talk about this model from Meta. And if you would like to just watch more videos on AI in general, make sure you hit that subscribe button. You know the drill. Like, follow, subscribe, comment your thoughts, etc., etc. And I'll see you guys in the next one. Peace.